They arrived at the edge of Black Hollow around dusk, a couple in their late 20s, Jake and Melissa, city kids trying to find themselves in the wilderness. Jake had a new Canon DSLR with night vision. Melissa brought a bottle of wine and a suspicious optimism that they wouldn't get lost in the pines. The plan was to unplug for a weekend. No phones, no social media, just stars, trees, and each other. The campsite was a small clearing nestled beneath thick evergreens. Jake set up the tent while Melissa gathered wood. By the time the fire crackled to life, the forest around them had turned to pitch. Still, it was peaceful, so quiet you could hear the trees breathing. They drank wine by the fire, laughed, whispered. Eventually, when the chill came, they zipped themselves into the tent and curled up in their sleeping bags. Jake placed the camera on a tripod just outside the entrance, pointing toward them, just in case a deer wandered by or, as Jake joked, Bigfoot finally made his debut. But the camera caught something else. At 3:12 a.m., the footage began to warp with static. A soft crunch of footsteps approached the tent. Something slow, deliberate, then silence. Inside, Melissa stirred. "Jake, did you hear that?" A pause. Jake sat up, his eyes half closed. "Probably a raccoon." That wasn't a raccoon. More silence, then a long dragging scrape, like something being pulled across the ground. Jake unzipped the sleeping bag, grumbling. "All right, I'll check. Don't freak out." Melissa watched him pull on his jacket and step outside. The zipper buzzed as the tent flap closed behind him. She waited. 1 minute, 2, then zip. The tent opened again. Jake crawled back in, brushing pine needles from his jacket. "All good," he said. Melissa relaxed. "What was it?" "Just a tree branch scraping the ground. Wind picked up." She nodded, but something itched at the back of her mind. She looked at him more closely. His voice was the same. His face was the same. But his eyes, they didn't blink, not once. They were glassy, too wide, like someone had drawn them on. Melissa stared. Jake smiled, a little too slowly. "You okay?" he asked. "Yeah," she whispered, curling back into her sleeping bag, her pulse thudding like distant drums. She didn't sleep. By morning, Jake was cheerful, made breakfast, joked about Melissa the raccoon hunter. But he still didn't blink, not once. And when he spoke, it was always a beat too late, like he had to think about how to move his mouth. Melissa found his boots outside the tent, caked in mud, wet, but Jake's socks clean and dry. She checked the camera. The battery was dead. That night she faked sleep, heard him breathing beside her, long, slow, mechanical breaths, like he was trying to remember how to be human. At 2:33 a.m., the tent zipper moved. She opened her eyes just a crack. Jake, the real Jake, was standing outside, covered in scratches, shirt torn, face pale and desperate. His mouth moved without sound. Then the thing lying beside her sat up. Same face, same hair. But this time, the eyes blinked, but not naturally. It was like a puppet mimicking a blink. The thing turned toward her and whispered, "Don't look in the tent." The real Jake screamed something, muffled by the thick canvas wall, and then the zipper closed. When she woke in the morning, the fire was out. No sign of a struggle. Just the camera, now mysteriously charged with a new file saved. 3:12 a.m. Dot move. She played it. The footage showed Jake stepping outside, looking confused. He turned toward the woods. Then something stepped out of the trees. It was him, an exact copy. Jake tried to run, but the thing lunged. There was a struggle. screams, then silence. The thing stood up, brushed itself off, and looked directly into the camera. It smiled. Then it walked back toward the tent. Melissa didn't make it out of Black Hollow. No one did, but the camera did. Campers found it months later, buried in a tangle of roots near the same clearing. They watched the footage. One of them laughed and said, "Just a prank video." That night, as he zipped his tent shut, he heard rustling outside. His girlfriend whispered, "Can you check?" He stepped out. When he returned, she asked, "What was it?" He smiled too slowly. "Just a raccoon." The camcorder was half melted, crusted with ash and time. Deputy Ray Glover found it buried beneath years of pine needles and forest debris in Black Hollow, a forgotten sliver of woods just outside of Derry, Maine. The place had long since been written off as cursed. No trails led in. No signs warned visitors. It simply existed, a scar in the forest. The campsite was little more than a ring of charred stones and the scattered bones of half-collapsed tents. It shouldn't have even been there. Black Hollow had been closed after the Miller family vanished in '92. Ray knew that because he remembered the posters. A family of 4 with 2 bright smiles and eyes that never blinked. But this wasn't the Millers. This was something newer. The camcorder, after a bit of coaxing and a lot of cleaning, burst to life in Ray's office. Its last recorded tape, miraculously intact, clicked into place. What he saw made him light a cigarette with trembling fingers, despite the no smoking sign over his desk. The footage began with the jittery jangle of laughter. 4 20-somethings, 2 guys, 2 girls, drinking beer around a fire. They looked like college kids, maybe summer vacationers who wondered where they shouldn't. The date in the corner said, August 16th, 2011. 10 years ago. The fire crackled, casting long, warm shadows. "Cheers to off-grid weekends and no responsibilities," one of the guys said, lifting his beer. "Cheers to no cell service," a girl whooped. They were full of life, teasing, flirting. The usual bullshit kids get into when they think they're untouchable. The camera wobbled as someone set it down on a log, framing the fire and the group just right. But what struck Ray, what tightened the cold knot in his chest, was what sat beyond the reach of the firelight. A shape, a tall, still silhouette standing just at the edge where the flickering glow turned to black. No one looked at it, not once. They laughed, toasted marshmallows, told spooky stories about wendigos and skinwalkers, never glancing at the thing watching them. Ray scrubbed through the footage. The shape never moved. It stood there, arms too long, head slightly cocked, as if listening. Occasionally the flames would flare, casting just enough light to make out the faint suggestion of a face, smooth, pale, and featureless. Around the 20-minute mark, the camera caught something that made Ray lean closer. One of the girls, curly-haired, named Jessie, according to the others, paused mid-sentence. Her eyes glazed. She stared into the dark, lips parting, like she was about to say something, but she didn't. Then she stood up. No one reacted. Not the boyfriend who had his arm around her. Not the girl sitting across from her. She walked into the dark, straight toward the figure, swallowed by the night. No screams, no acknowledgement, just laughter like nothing had happened. Another 10 minutes passed. Then one of the guys, Matt, stood up. Same thing, straight into the dark. Gone. By the end of the tape, only one was left. A guy with a Red Sox cap turned backward. He sat there, eyes vacant, smiling like he didn't know the others were missing. Then, just before the camera cut out, he turned his head toward the shadow. He nodded, and the tape ended in static. Ray leaned back, mouth dry. He replayed the footage, frame by frame. Watched the fire crackle, the figure loom, the kids vanish one by one. He brought the footage to the state troopers, who brought it to the FBI, who brought it to tech experts. They all came to the same conclusion. The tape was real. No edits, no trickery. But there were no missing persons reports for any of them. No Jesse, no Matt, no Red Sox guy. Like they never existed. Word got out, as it always does in small towns. The locals started calling it the shadow beyond the firelight. A test, they said. A whisper from the woods. Some said it was the forest itself. A thing older than time that fed on the warmth of the living. That it waits in places forgotten, places abandoned, and it hates being ignored. Ray never went back to Black Hollow, but sometimes, late at night, when the wind howled just right, and the shadows on his porch stretched too long, he thought he saw it. Still, watching, waiting for the fire to die.